Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a video and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from hundreds of successful people from around the world. Today, it is my privilege to welcome a very senior and successful professional manager who's made the change to the social sector. And very interestingly, he and I are from the same business school, Jamnalal Bajaj. Ashit Gupta, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Ashutosh. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Ashit is the founder of Advocacy. He's also the founder of Women of Opinion, which is also called WOOP. He's worked for Procter & Gamble, British American Tobacco, and DDP Advertising, and he's been an entrepreneur for the last 10 years. So Ashit, tell me, what would you say are three key milestones in your life or your career?
So, firstly, thanks for having me on the show, Ashutosh, and happy to share my, limited life experience with your viewers and listeners. When I look back, I turned 50 last month.
Mm-hmm.
So, big milestone that way. Looking back, over the last 25 years of work experience, I think one of the big milestones, I would say, just the start I was lucky to get after B school. And reflecting on my journey, it's been very evident that, luck plays a big role. I have become genuinely convinced that the whole talk of merit is actually quite flawed.
Mm-hmm.
We have all been very lucky in ending up where we are. And it has been a series of lucky coincidences which has led us to where we are.
Sure.
So let me talk through my lucky coincidences that I would say.
Yeah, that'd be wonderful.
So, when I joined Bajaj, I was actually in FMS already. And I was I was okay there. And I was not even planning to write the JB entrance exam because that happens much later. But I didn't get a hostel in FMS. So I said, okay, my parents were in Bombay. I said, let's write the Bajaj exam. And then I joined Bajaj, right? And if I had not joined Bajaj, I would not have got into PNG. It is very clear to me because I was not from an IIT, right? And when PNG goes to IIMs and FMS, they shortlist based on, they have to interview a limited set of people. Bajaj was a smaller batch size and I got a chance to interview and I got through. I was lucky. So I would say, that whole change, it was a decision not based on any logic, but that helped me get into PNG, which is a great name to have on your CV from the beginning.
Correct.
So it was a lucky break. Yes, hard work plays some role, but I would say getting into PNG was definitely one big milestone, which gave me a good start for sure. And I would say the second big one, which actually I feel from a marketing perspective has had the biggest impact on my learning and career, is the move from PNG to BAT.
Okay.
Because it was actually a 360-degree move. You are going from a category and a company which believes in mass marketing, right? Everything was about mass, advertising and sampling, right? And actually, both these things were not allowed. You have worked in a similar company, right? So I went to BAT and, there is no advertising allowed. You cannot do too much sampling. But actually, it is an FMCG company because cigarettes get bought daily. It is the fastest of the FMCG, if you look at it that way, right? So I actually learned a lot more about marketing at BAT than PNG. I actually rate BAT as one of the best marketing companies because I tell my friends that it is easy to find somebody who can make good advertising copy and build distribution. That is not rocket science. It's been around for ever since mass marketing started. What I learned in BAT, which also then led me to launch Advocacy, and I linked the two, was how do you grow brands without mass marketing in a category which has 70% loyalty? So if you can convince people without the typical mass marketing tools, including digital, which is again still not allowed, to change from Marlboro to Kent. And this is not a category where people just change like that, right? So I think the move to BAT was a big milestone as a marketer, I would say. I learned a lot, things which were not talked about in those days: design language, subliminal marketing, sensory marketing. That was a category which really got deep into it because they had to. There wasn't mass market. And that was so much more interesting and learning than the same old get insight, make TV copy, do the TV testing, get the media things. So I would say that was another, important milestone looking back in my career.
Okay.
I think the third was really becoming an entrepreneur, right? Tobacco is a category pays very well.
Yeah.
So at a young age, I became a tobacco expat, right? So and you will not find too many ex-tobacco marketeers like people who have left the company, because these are like golden handcuffs, right? But I had always been a marketeer in my life. I didn't want to become a general manager, and I was looking to, do more. And having learned what I did at BAT, which was, we'll come to that, flipping the funnel, word of mouth marketing.
Yeah.
I was seeing the growth of social and digital, right? And I was seeing people spending money on digital influencers, trying to get word of mouth. And having done that at BAT in a much more structured manner, I thought there was an opportunity to, launch a new offering in the market. And I decided to take the plunge. Again, it was luck, I would say. I was talking to a friend and he said, well, that's very interesting. And next day he sent me the brief.
Very interesting.
And then I was faced with the question, is it just talk or do I need to walk the talk?
Well said.
And I decided to take the plunge. And again, I think I was lucky that the first project itself won global awards. So the company took off.
Okay.
If it had failed, obviously, I would have perhaps gone back to corporate.
Sure.
But I would say the last milestone, which, I'm still, on that journey of being an entrepreneur, I think that would be the third one.
Fantastic.
I would say.
So, Asit, let's talk about, the first of your ventures, advocacy and FMCG.
Yeah.
And you said you are a marketer with so much experience of FMCG. Tell me what goes into building a successful brand.
So I'm saying it's a big question, right?
It is.
And it's a question which has been, books have been written.
And given the time constraint, I request you to give me a short answer.
Yeah. So I would say, let's focus on the present, given what your listeners would be interested in. I think the fundamentals of brand building have not changed, right? The 4 P's of marketing are still, of course, relevant. I think what has changed is the weightage and the importance of some of the P's. Specifically, what do I mean, right? Let's pick place, distribution, and let's take P, product, okay? When you look at earlier FMCG brands needed mass distribution, right? Which means you need to be a big company. You cannot have 3,000 distributors across India overnight, right? So the place was a big constraint to becoming a successful FMCG brand in a country like India. Now, what has happened in the last 3-4 years with the growth of Amazon and other e-commerce, the place barrier is gone away, right? You can be listed on Amazon and you are available, right? So that is a big change. And that has led to growth of many FMCG brands, 100 crores, 200 crores, which are pretty much brand startups, product startups, right? Whether it's the baby category or whether it is in the food and beverage category. So I think with the dominance and the constraint of place, which was then limited to big companies, okay, the importance of having a unique product has become very important.
Okay.
So that, I think, that change in weightage, earlier you could have a parity product supported by mass heavy weights and you have advertising, good pricing. There are 4 or 5 competitors doing the same thing. Today, you have unique founder-led brands with true product stories, not just a product tick box, like a clever FMCG, Unilever, P&G style ingredient, which gets a name, but real meat in the product. And these products can stand out.
Very interesting.
So I would say product, and finally the last new P which has come up in today's world, also linking to the connected world we live in, the millennials, right? And what is happening in the world. I think purpose is very important. Having purpose not as a CSR tick box, having purpose baked into your brand genuinely, that you have started this brand or this product to make a difference, whatever that difference is, right? People can see through that,
Very
you
interesting.
know, and you have a way, because with the social channels, it is easy to get your story across
Correct.
to the world today.
Very,
So
very,
to
very
have
interesting. You say talk about purpose as one of the P's. I remember when I was at ITC, they had added a sixth P, which was the Panwala. And when I founded Guardian Pharmacy, I did a seventh P, which is in my book also, which P was pharmacy. So now I've got the eighth P from my perspective, which is purpose.
Yeah. Well, in tobacco, we kind of separated even packaging from the product because, but yeah, that's a great framework actually. 8 Ps we have got now.
Absolutely. So let's move on and let's talk about, what you just mentioned a little earlier, flipping the marketing funnel. Help me understand this phrase.
Yeah, I think it's very straightforward. Typical funnel starts, it's a triangle, inverted triangle in a way. It starts with awareness at the top, going to consideration, going to trial and conversion, and then finally coming to advocacy, right? Now, in today's world, when, as we know, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, all of these channels provide so much reach, right? Flipping the funnel means that you use your current user, the advocates, people who are using your brand every day, people who are paying good money to buy you, which means they like you. Get them to talk about your brand, use them to get awareness and consideration, rather than just spend money on paid advertising, right? So, and this works mathematically also. So let's take an example. Let's say a brand is targeting a universe of 1 crore consumers, right? Let's say they're targeting 10 crores and they already have 1 crore of them as a user base.
Correct.
25% reach is meaningful in FMCG marketing, in any marketing. But more importantly, Ashutosh, it's the quality of that reach. This is what I call in marketing terms a friend impression. Okay. It is not a brand impression. I'm reaching 25% of my target audience with impression of a friend. So much more trust and influence than just the brand doing advertising. So that's flipping the funnel. Get your current users to get you new users.
Very interesting. So, Asid, let's now move to the second part of our conversation, which is on women of opinion.
Yeah.
You're present in 7 countries with a community of over 3 million women. Tell me of your thinking behind setting up this organization.
So it has very much been part of this journey and linked to this whole flipping the funnel discussion. So when I launched advocacy in 2011, advocacy's proposition even today is about flipping the funnel, get your current users to help you get new users. And we had a platform, a gamified platform, which we were working with brands to develop these advocates and get these people to do the social sharing and advocacy. And Whoop has been an evolution from that. So after 5 years of doing that, we decided that we should focus on the women demographic, because that's where the majority of decisions are made for FMCG and also durables. And B, we added purpose into the business model. And that also goes back to when we talk about my personal values. I think, the midlife crisis, all of us asking the question, what is this about, right? Is it just about feeding our personal ego with achievement and a bank balance? Or so for me, starting to give back to society was becoming important. And, as I said, I love marketing. So Whoop was an evolution of saying, how can we link marketing to actually doing good and helping the underprivileged? So Whoop became a revolution of saying, okay, in this platform, women can come and engage with brands. Brands can get engagement, advocacy, all the benefits. But we turn this engagement time also into donation to children-focused charities.
Okay.
So literally what we are saying, we are creating funds for charities out of clicks, literally.
Very interesting. And when you say that you aim to make marketing a force for good, a force for compassion, and not consumption,
Yes.
We understand this.
Yeah, this is core to, I would say, yeah, my existence right now, because I think it's become clear to me, that we are at a very key inflection point in the world. I was lucky to have left India early and see developed world where it was. I think it's a mad race of consumption. We keep, the tyranny of GDP growth. We don't talk about the growth in human indicators. Every quarter we celebrate GDP growth. We don't celebrate growth or feel sad about decline in human indicators, right? So I think this tyranny of consumption-led capitalism, which has been sold to all of us, even from the time of B school, that the only thing which matters is maximizing shareholder profit.
Correct.
If that is the starting point, then obviously you are looking to sell more at the same time, which means you're going to sell more, you will drop price, you will screw up your suppliers by squeezing them for the lower price, which has its impact on the planet. So it became very clear to me that this consumption race is a disaster for the macro society, planet, as well at a micro level. All of us trying to score this deal and discount. Life has to be a lot more than just acquisition and consumption, right? So that was one conclusion. The second point was, okay, but we're not talking of a revolution. We cannot fight this system and change this overnight. Capitalism is here to stay. So for me, it was like, for me as a marketer who is thinking about this, how can I use my strength of marketing to make a change within the system?
I see. Okay.
How can we help brands get what they want, which is consumption, conversion, but in some way directly also link this to compassion for those who need help, those who are not able to consume, right? We have to think about it, because we cannot create sustainable economic growth if we don't have the social capital sorted.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
So, now let me move on. I have worked with a lot of young people, but I'm one generation older than you are.
Yeah.
My question to you is, the fact that you must have worked with millennials and the Gen Zs, across multiple formats. As a marketer, what is your view on the impact brands are having on millennials and Gen Zs, or vice versa?
I think, yeah, it's a very, very interesting question. And I'm saying it gets clubbed as a wide segment, right? Gen Z, millennials. But of course, it's a big segment. Within that, it varies by countries also. Different countries. If we just take the 4 countries I have lived in, actually it's very different across countries.
Correct.
So China is very different from Russia. India is very different, and UK, classic Western liberal democracy, developed country.
Sure.
The dynamics are very different, right? If I look at the developed markets, right, and the contrast with, I would say, the idealism I see amongst the youth in countries like UK, and the desire to give back and be more purpose-led. Okay. I see that much more compared to, let's say, Russia, China, India. It's not that it's not there. The youth is very active in social enterprises in India and Russia and China. But there are, let's say, different political dynamics also in these countries, right? And also these are still developing countries. So people are still very focused on success, the classic definitions of success, right? So I would say definitely idealism. And youth is always more idealistic. Even when we were young, we were more idealistic. We've all become more pragmatic now. So I think, like all generations, idealism is a positive I see amongst the Gen Z. Within India, there's a huge shift. The new generation is so much less risk averse. We were all very risk averse. We had to secure our future. We took the linear trusted path. And I think in the last 4-5 years, what is coming out of India, when we look at digital marketing, we have moved beyond services. Genuine new products are coming out. And these young people straight out of college are launching and marketing their product at a global level and collaborating at a global level. So I think this whole ambition and I can do it, and that confidence. I think this is so apparent, especially when we look at India, and specifically when I look at the digital space, which is where I am. I think that's very refreshing, and that's very great to see. Yeah.
Very interesting. So, Asil, I'm going to move to the last segment. I've got time for about 2 or 3 questions
Yeah.
for you, which I say questions for you personally.
Mhm.
For a person who has achieved so much in marketing, lived in 4 different countries, entrepreneur for 10 years, so much more to do ahead, what does success mean to Asit?
For me, success is really about thinking what is going to be my legacy beyond a bank balance and well brought up children.
Okay.
And what do I mean by that? I think one of the people I kind of draw inspiration from, when I look at Bill Gates, right? He was a hardcore capitalist, the richest man in the world,
Sure.
right? He is using his capital and his brains to solve genuinely big problems in the world, right? Fundamental problems,
Correct.
health, sanitation. And I think if we can all, at a certain point, after achieving personal success, however we define it, start to look beyond ourselves, I think that's a successful life.
Very interesting.
Looking beyond our own self.
Very interesting. So I have time for 2 more questions for you. My next question to you is about failure. Most parents in Asia don't teach their children it's okay to fail. We're always told for come first, be at the head of the line, etc., etc. Yet we fail. My question to you is, what have been some of your learnings from some of your mistakes or failures?
So I think it is also, again, a very varies from person to person life experience. I think when I look back at some of the knocks and stumbles I have had, I would say not aiming for perfection, right? Not sitting on a decision and thinking through it, making things complicated, trying to perfect it. I look back and think, if I had more wisdom and less intellect, I would have perhaps achieved more. Maybe those failures would not have happened. So I would say a bias for pragmatic action,
Okay.
versus, I would say, intellectual perfection, which gives a lot of pleasure, but at times can be negative. I would say, when I look back, if I had more, a better balance between the two,
Very interesting.
I think that's my big learning, I would say.
Wonderful.
Act.
And my last question to you, if you recall, I had mentioned that over 74% of the people who listen to us are below 34 years old.
Yeah.
What would your advice be to a lot of young individuals who will be listening to everything you say as they start off on their career in the corporate world?
I think I would say 2 areas which are related, right? I think discovering what really turns you on, what moves your goat, what are you really passionate about? I think discovering that, if one can do that early on, that's a great place to be in.
Okay.
Right? Because so few of us, if we look at our generation, right, we were just pushed in a particular direction, and then we discovered I like this, etc. Right?
Yeah.
But I think that is very important. And in today's times and generation, with so much knowledge available beyond educational institutes, it is feasible for people to get exposure and find out what you really like. Right? So I would say that would be my advice number 1. And I would say the advice number 2, and maybe it's a bit of an extrapolation of my personal values. I think staying true and authentic, right, and thinking of others and helping those in need will hold people in good stead. We have too much hype, we have too much hustle in the world, and not enough help.
Okay.
Because everything is getting drowned by sound bites, today's news cycle, right? What is tomorrow's going to be? What is tomorrow's tweet, right? It's all a bubble if you think about it, right? It's all about managing perception. I think it's important to step back from this. and also look at what is it that really matters and makes a difference, right? So being authentic, being true, right? And keeping an eye on helping others beyond yourself. I would say if people can those two things, we will have a much better world. Yeah.
Fantastic. Asit, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure
Thank
speaking to you. Great to catch up with a fellow alumni from Bajaj. And I wish you lots of success with whatever you're doing with advocacy and with Women of Opinion. Thank you again.
Thanks a lot, Ashutosh. Pleasure talking to you.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.